There we go. So do you guys have questions for me? I have some things that I want to go over with you too, but we'll start with your question.
So sorry, they took my teeth off today.
Any questions about content, about how this is all working? You guys think?
I have some questions.
Great.
Actually, I wasn't here this week, so I probably missed a lot of things, like the classwork and the test. So I wanted to know like how to catch up with all of them. Because I don't know what test we have today, and I didn't bring my laptop with me, and I just came back yesterday. So I'm resuming the class today, and I don't know like what's going on like for this week and what test we have today.
Priyanshi, we probably should talk about that after class.
Okay.
But I will tell you this, we have a test today, and this is a summer class, so we don't have the time to like take a week off in the middle of a summer class. We just don't have time to do that.
Okay.
So let's do some problem solving after class. How does that sound?
Yeah, sure. Good. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions about content that you were confused? Anything that was hard this week that you want to go over? Okay. All right. So I looked at all of your stuff for main idea, and I will say that I am a little bit concerned. I still think that you're having trouble writing thesis statements, and I still think you're having trouble doing outlines. So what I need you guys to do is I need you guys to, on your computers right now, or if you printed this, then you can go find it. But we're going to start out by going over the compliance techniques article. This was the easiest study read, and I still felt like some people were having trouble with it. So I think we should go over it together. I do have a question for you before we get started. How many of you did the VoiceThreads this week?
Me.
Ugba did? Yep. Okay, so I know there's only 4 of you here, which is also concerning me quite a bit. But I just want you to know that the VoiceThreads are where I do all my teaching. This meeting, this little class thing, I do a little bit of teaching, but I'm doing the majority of my teaching in videos and in the VoiceThreads, especially in the VoiceThreads. So if you're not doing that, you're missing all of the instruction. Okay, so you just really need to do that. Otherwise, you're just going to not do well on the tests. If you don't get the instruction, then you're not going to do well on the test. I mean, that's just cause and effect. There's no way, right? It's just like if you skipped class every single day and then showed up the day of the test expecting to be able to do the test without any instruction. It's kind of the same thing as that. So I just wanted to say that again, because I know I've said it before, but I have noticed that people aren't doing it, and I can't make you, right? I can't make you do it. But I am concerned that if you don't do it, you're just not going to do well. I mean, there's nothing I can do about that. Also, if you're having trouble, I know that a lot of you are really good about emailing me and doing a Zoom meeting with me. I think every single person here has done that. So good job. But just continue to do that. If you're having trouble, I don't have you in class, so I can't sit down next to you and be like, you forgot this, right? So I need you to like come to me when you're confused, because I can't tell. I can't tell until your stuff is already handed in, and then it's sort of like moot. So that's why we're going to go over the compliance techniques. Can you guys figure that out and find that right now? I'll give you a minute, and then I'm going to go on to, while you find that, I'm going to turn on my document camera and and we'll go over it together. How does that sound? Okay? Okay. There we go. I need paper. Ugh. All right. All right, so here's my article. Do you guys have your article handy? Because what I want you to do is I want you to look at your assignment as we're doing this so you can see where you are doing it wrong. That's what so you can do it right during the test, because the test is today. So let's just go through it. So the first question I have for you, and I want everybody to type this into the chat, is what does compliance mean? Go ahead and type that into the chat. What does compliance mean? Nobody is typing. Does nobody know what compliant means? Somebody say something. Do you not know what?
No.
Say that one more time, Ubad.
I said like I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
Do you know, Khadija? Khadija, do you know what compliant means?
Is it related to medicines or something? Physics?
Physics,
No.
medicine. Any other guesses? Judith, do you know what it means?
I'm so
No?
sorry.
Do you know what compliant? Oh yeah, ouchie.
They took my teeth today. I don't think if you can hear me right.
Oh, is it like
I'm sorry.
request or obeying an order, the rules? Something?
It has something to do with requests. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So compliance is actually, can you see this? Is this big enough for you guys? Can you see this? Or is it too small?
It's too small, kind of too small.
So I want you to go up on the very top where it says the view, top right. It says, right now it says speaker view on mine. But if you just press that, it should say speaker, it should say gallery view up there. If it doesn't, then make sure it does. And then you maybe can see it a little bit better because it should be full screen. All right, and if it's too small, then you're just gonna have to use the one on your computer too. So you're gonna have to toggle back and forth. But compliance is right here, is actually defined for you right in the words to watch. So compliance means going along with somebody else's wishes, right? So if you guys are parents, you would want your children to be compliant, right? You would want them to do what you said when you say it, right? I was laughing. My daughter was at the taking my dog out and he wouldn't come inside because he's annoying. And she said, I wish Franklin would be compliant, because I was asking you what compliance meant. And she thought she was really funny. Okay, so it's really important to read the introduction because that will also help you out on words that you don't know. Okay, sometimes those words are defined for you. So you've read this already. And what was the thesis statement that you figured out? Well, first of all, what was the topic? Because that's how we begin our thesis statement, is we figure out what the topic is. So what is the topic of this article?
The topic is compliance techniques.
Compliance techniques. All right. And what does that mean? Because I'm sure you guys don't go around talking like this. This is not everyday language, right? You don't go around and say, I wish you to be compliant, right? You don't tell your children to be compliant. So what other words can we use as a topic that isn't compliance?
Cooperative.
Yep. Cooperate. Yep. What is the name of the article again?
Cooperation,
Mm-hmm.
cooperation technique.
Cooperation techniques, sure. What's the name of the article? It's right here. You could just read it.
Exam. I can't see. Compliance techniques, getting people to say yes.
Getting people to say yes. Is that what this is about? It's getting people to say yes? Right? So that's our topic, is how to get people to say yes. And what is the controlling idea? What does this author want us to know about how to get people to say yes? I'm going to try something to see if we can get this bigger. Tell me if this goes to my desktop or if you can see the thing better. Are you seeing my desktop or are you seeing the paper?
Yes. We are seeing the desktop.
Okay. All right. Then that won't work. Then we're just going to have to deal with that. So what is it about? Are you still thinking about the controlling idea? What is the thing that this author wants us to know about getting people to say yes? What's the information that this author is giving us about trying to make people say yes?
So he tried to explain three or four different techniques.
Techniques. Yes. And what is a technique?
What's the techniques?
A technique is what?
Is it
Is a way of the carrying out particular task.
Right, exactly. We can use the word techniques, but yes, that it's sort of like the tricks, right?
Yeah.
The methods. Absolutely. So now that we have the topic, we have compliance techniques or getting people to say yes, and then we have techniques, right? there are many, there are some techniques. How many techniques did they go over in this?
For technique.
5? Yeah.
4.
4 or 5? Well, here, let's do this.
Okay. The foot in the door.
Yep, here's one technique right here, right?
Appeal to
The-
feelings of loyalty.
Right. Where's another technique? We have foot in the door technique.
The door in the face technique.
Yep, we have the door in the face technique.
Low ball technique.
Oops, shoot.
The low ball technique.
So we have this, I'm trying to highlight and I'm having trouble. There we go. The low ball technique. There's 3.
And the last one is that is not all technique.
That's right. Right there. And that, oops, see, darn it. And that one was not like a header, right? It was in the middle of the sentence.
Yeah.
So you had to
Yeah.
really look carefully. So how many other? 1, 2, 3. There are 4 techniques, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go back here. So I put 4 right here, okay? So now we need to write a thesis statement. We need to write a thesis statement, and maybe I'll just do it right here on the screen so everyone can see it better. Okay, so the topic was and I have list the major support. So we just did that, right? That was the foot in the door. And what was the other ones? The door in the face. And the low ball. And then that's not all, right? Okay, so we have those 4. So then the controlling idea was that there were right? Now it says compose a thesis statement. So who can help me with that? Why don't you all try that in the chat? I'll try putting those together. So you have the topic, which is getting people to say yes. And there are 4 techniques for our controlling idea. So why don't you all try that in the chat right now?
Okay. Mm. There are 4 different techniques to making the people to get people to say yes.
Okay, so I'm going to just write that. There are 4
Different techniques.
that, keep going.
There are different 4 techniques to get the people to say yes. Or getting the people to say yes.
Okay, so here's, thanks, Khadija. This says there are 4 different techniques to get people to say yes. So here is your controlling idea, right?
Yeah.
And then here is our topic right here, correct?
Yeah.
You can see how we put that into a sentence. The controlling idea plus the topic, or the topic plus the controlling idea. That's how you write your thesis statement. And you need to make sure that the
Yeah.
thesis statement is a complete sentence, right? So in the chat, Priyanshi said, how to agree with one's decisions. We don't have a topic, right? And the controlling idea is a little bit different. But what I want to highlight is that you never stop. This is just something that everybody should know because everybody does it. Do not start a thesis statement with the word how. If you start the thesis statement with the word how, then you will not have a complete sentence. Okay? So never start it with the word how. Just take that right out. Okay? Out of the mix. All right, so now it says, is there a sentence in the article that means the same thing? There are 4 different techniques to get people to say yes. So let's look at the article. Is there a place in the article where it says that? Excuse me. Does anybody see a sentence in here that says the same thing?
Is the first sentence?
Research has investigated the specific techniques that people use to gain compliance. Does that seem like it says the same thing and has the same idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a stated thesis right there in the first sentence. Now, does it use the different words though? It uses techniques, it uses compliance, but the idea is the same.
Yeah, they use the people too, so.
Right. So this is our stated thesis. And I'm going to go back down to my worksheet here where it asked me, is there a sentence? And I'm going to put yes, the first sentence. Right? And then I'm going to just, that's where I just copied and pasted it so it would be here. Research has investigated, right? Then it says, revise your thesis, including the quote from the author's text. Okay, so remember on our our worksheet from our procedure packet, where you go through that procedure. We need to give the authors and the article credit. So I'm going to revise my thesis right now, and I'm going to put in the article, and I'm going to use quotation marks because it's an article and not a book. I'm not even gonna do that. I'm gonna just put the name. Oh, there's a whole bunch of names here, and that will be too long. So I'm going to just use the authors. Nope. So I'm gonna use their last names. Taylor, Peplau, and Sears state that there are that, and now I'm gonna have to quote the text. Okay, so here is the official thesis statement. Right here. In the article, Compliance Techniques, Getting People to Say Yes, Taylor, Plow, and Sears state that researchers have investigated the specific techniques that people use to gain compliance, which has the same idea, it's just very complicated, right? As there are 4 different techniques that people use to get people to say yes, right? There are 4 different techniques that get people to say yes. This is easier to understand, right? This, if you were doing this for a paper, this is the formal academic way of doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is really important that you do number 4 first, and you do this in your own words first, so you understand it. Trying to do this in number 6 doesn't mean you understand the text, because when I asked you guys what compliance meant, everyone just sat there and stared at me because you didn't know. And if you don't know what compliance means, that's a problem with this text, right? Could you really understand what the text meant if you didn't know what compliance meant?
Yeah.
Right? So it's
Yes.
really important that you do this first. Okay? All right, so now if we're going to outline this article, what do we begin with? How do we start? The test is today and you're going to have to outline. So show me that you know how to start an outline. What do you do? What do I type first?
Mhm.
Where can you look to figure this out?
On the top.
At the top of this page? That's not going to tell you how to outline. Where are the directions for outlining?
I think question number 6.
Okay.
Yeah, in the article, technique.
Okay, so ask your question. I can't really hear you. There's some background noise here. Can you ask your question again, Ray?
I think you can write the online like in the article complaint technique.
So what about the article? I
don't know. I think.
just didn't, I'm sorry. My children are getting ready to leave, and so there's a little bit of background noise. I just didn't hear your first part.
You mean how to write the online, right?
How to
So-
write, yeah, outline, right. How do you start? How do you start?
Yeah, how to start? I said we can start like in the article of
Yes,
complaint technique. Yeah.
right. So your thesis statement is the first thing you write, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, you're correct. But I need to do a Roman numeral 1 first, right? So I'm going to do that. Roman numeral 1. And did you see how that little square came up right here?
Yeah.
That means that Microsoft Word is going to help me outline. And that's great. So now I'm just going to copy and paste this because I've already done it, right? Why would I retype it? Okay. Now what's next? Is it Roman numeral 2?
Yes.
Yes? Nope. We only have one thesis statement, and in this class, we're just going to do Roman numeral 1, and that's it. So we need to do something here so you can figure this out, okay? So I'm going to get rid of this if I can. There we go. Can you guys see the top of my page here? Do you see these little arrows right here?
Yep, we do.
Okay. So do you see how this one is pointing in and it says increase indent? I'm going to do that. And did you see what happened? It turned into an A down here. You see that?
Yes.
So now that's right. So now I need to do the major details. So what is a major detail? Which major detail should we start with?
The comment technical.
The what? Sorry. Just say it again. I just didn't hear you.
Controlling technical.
Controlling. Is that what you said?
No, I said like technique.
Yeah, the foot in the door technique is our first one, right? Up here, we listed the major support right here, right? So here's our first one, the foot in the door technique. So I'm going to put that down. Okay, and then what do we have to do? Because do you guys know, before you read this article, did you know what the foot in the door technique was? I don't think I did. So we need to define that, right? So I'm going to go back up to this little arrow and I'm going to press the arrow and that's going to indent again. And I'm going to put in what that means. So what is the foot in the door?
One way of increasing compliance is to induce a people to agree the first and to a small request.
Right. So you ask a small request, is that right?
Yes.
And then a larger one. Right? So you ask a small request, and then once the client agrees with the smaller request, you ask for a larger request, correct? Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Okay. So now we go to the next major detail, and what is that?
It was
The door in the face technique.
The door in the face technique. And I want you to look at my outline right here. And you can see that I returned and now I have this next, it looks like it's going to be another minor detail, but I don't want it to be a minor detail because it's a major detail, right?
Yeah.
So I have to go back up to this little arrow and I need to decrease my indent and then it goes back to a B, right? Now I can put the door in the face. All right, and now we need to define what that means. So what does that mean? And do I want it to be a C? Or do I want it to
Oh, it's gonna be one.
Yep. So I'm gonna go back up here, indent again. Now it's in the right spot. So what am I going to write here in the door in the face?
is the meaning.
Sometime a door in the face.
They're like
What do I ask for first?
Making it smaller. Can I increase compliance to this small request?
Yep, so you ask for a very
Small.
large request. And when the client says no, change it to a smaller request that the client will agree to, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the door in the face technique. Now what do I do?
I go to C.
Okay,
For
so
the third one.
So I return and that is not a C. So now I have to go back up and do that. Now it's a C. And now what do I do?
The low ball technique.
A lowball technique. Okay, and now what do I do?
Go down and then
Go down and
do it again.
I need to indent again, right? I need it to be a minor detail. Okay, so what is the lowball technique?
Say ask for.
How likely you could be to agree the following?
Okay, so you tell them tell the client. What do I tell the client? A small request, right?
Yes.
And
To agree with, yeah.
yep, and once the client agrees, share the bigger part, right? Oh, that's right. I'll get you. All right, sorry. My daughter's leaving. See you later, honey. Okay. All right, so tell the client the small request, and then once the client agrees with it's like a partial request, really. The example in the text was ask somebody if they want to be a part of the study, and then they say yes, I'll agree. Then you tell them that it has to be at 7 o'clock in the morning. Instead of telling them, will you do the study at 7 o'clock in the morning? Then they'll say no because they don't want to get up in the morning, right? So tell the client a small request, and then once the client agrees, share the larger part of the agreement. So it might even be a partial request, and then you tell them the rest once they already agree, right? And what's the last one? What's our last technique?
It was
Yeah, that's not all.
daddy and now all.
That's not all. And what is that? What is our minor detail explaining that? Right? So in the that's not all technique, you buy something, but then you get all these bonus things for that one purchase, right? You've seen these ads.
Yep.
If you buy now, we'll give you 2 knives instead of 1, and a cookbook and a cutting board, right?
Yes.
So you get bonus gifts for one purchase. That makes people think they're getting a big deal, right? Ooh, if I buy right now, I'll get double from the price. When really probably the price you're paying is for two in the first place, right? Okay. So how did this feel? Do you understand how to break apart a text better now?
Yes.
So when you have to do this on your test today, you will be able to do this. What were the things that helped you in this text? How did the author help you figure out what the thesis statement was and what the major support was? How did this author help you?
Give topic, sentence, and for all the details.
Right, and where were the details? Most of them were what?
It's like body better.
Yeah, they were headers, right? They were headings.
Yes.
So it's important to pay attention to the headings. Were they all headings though?
No.
No, they were not all headings. So you still have to read the whole thing and make sure that you have everything, because then they have the that's not all technique down here. So you need to make sure that you have the whole thing covered, right?
And to read it.
And to read it, you have to read it, the whole thing. Now, as you read, you can definitely keep track. Now, I kept track by outlining, by highlighting, but you can also write things. I don't know why that happened. That's weird. Okay, there. You can also do some other annotation too, right? As you're reading. Now, your text that you're going to be reading for the test today is going to be in your textbook. So you'll be able to use your pencil and do some circling and some annotation with this, okay?
Okay.
All right, so did you guys take a look at the practice test?
Question.
Sure.
Like in a test when we do in Arab book, so do we have to take a photo or just like
Yes, you have to take a photo, and on the announcement page, I'll show you that I showed you exactly how to insert photos into a Word document, both online, like on the cloud, and on your desktop. Okay, and I'll just show you again. You can't see my screen anymore. I stopped sharing. Oh, and here, hold on. I'm in the wrong spot anyway. Hey, hi. All right, I'm gonna share again.
Hi.
Okay. So here we are, and if I wanted to put a picture in, I'm just gonna do it right here. If I wanted to put a picture in, let's say I wanted to put a picture in right here, right after this paragraph, then I would go here, and you can either drag it because I'm on my desktop, but I'm gonna just show you that you insert.
How if you're using with the phone is like to take picture with your phone, how we doing with?
If you're doing it on your phone, you're gonna have to get it onto your computer. So you're gonna have to get it, unless you can probably get on, you can get onto your iCloud account on your phone, right?
Yes, I do, but like last week I tried to do, but I can't.
So if you pull up your iCloud account on your phone and you choose Microsoft Word from your iCloud account, from your OneDrive, right? that you should be able to open a blank document,
Okay.
and then you would go to, oh my God, stop it. There. Oh, okay. All right. There we go. My printer just sends me things all the time. It drives me insane. Okay. All right. So then if you have a blank document, this is not a blank document, but it's the exact same procedure. So if I wanted to put a picture in right here, I would go in and I would do insert. And then I would do pictures. And then I would say picture from a file, maybe? Let's see. So this brings up my file. And on your phone, you should be able to choose like your photos. And I'm sorry that I don't know how to do that. You might need to call IT to have them help you with that, because they know more than me. I've never tried it on my phone. I don't have my iCloud account on my phone at all. So I've never tried it. But if you know how to get a photo onto your computer, you could do that way too. But you can see that I'm going to go to desktop, because I put all my pictures on, oh my Lord, on my desktop. I don't know what just happened. No, there we go. So all of these screenshots are on my desktop. And that's just easier for me, because when my photos get all screwed up in my photo app. So I'm going to put this metacognition thing in, okay? And so I just choose the photo, and the photo comes up here so I can check, and then I insert. And there it is. And then if it's upside down or sideways or anything, there's this little curly Q arrow thing that would let me move it. Okay? Because what you need to do is you need to put it into a Word document and then make sure that I can read it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's how you do it. Just insert photo.
So we do it by phone. Is like we're using both of them, like the laptop and the phone, so we can add it. So I
Yeah.
understand.
Okay. Good. All right. So I'm going to pull up. I got to stop sharing for a second. I'm going to pull up the practice test now. Okay. So you guys we can go over that next. But I have to find it. So hold on. I'll get there. All right, so you did here's to your health and practice test. Okay. Now I can share again. All right, so I have my practice test up. What are your questions? And remember, I answer anything you ask. So ask me the questions and I will help you. That's why we do this. Where did you have trouble? I am assuming you tried to do this because that will help you on the test today, right? If you're skipping the practice test, that's a problem. No questions at all? So this was easy for you? So you know how to answer all of these questions.
For me, no. I think
Okay. Which ones are you having trouble with, Ray?
number 4. What
Number-
is it?
What's
Yeah,
the difference between stated main idea and implied main idea?
yeah.
Okay, so what is an implied main idea?
I don't know.
Did you read the book?
I don't read the book.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you read chapter 4?
Chapter 4.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That makes it hard, right? What is an implied main idea? Who can help Ray? Why don't you all turn to chapter 4 in your books? And it's already post-it noted, I bet. So here is the page. I see a bolded word on page 145 right now. What does it say?
Miss, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Like, I little bit confused, like the outline, like, is in a practice, is it like outline or the map, the searchers? So I just got confused, like, the map.
The maps?
Yeah, is it like outline or map?
And you don't know what a map is?
I know.
Okay. Hang on with the map. We'll do that next. Ray, did you figure out what implied means?
Okay.
I read the first sentence. Downturn is select to make the sentence that direct. State the main idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's not stated, right? Implied means not stated. So what's the difference between a stated main idea and an implied main idea?
That's one I don't want to figure it out.
Is that a stated main idea is stated in the text, and an implied main idea is not stated.
Okay.
right? Did you write that down?
Yeah.
Good idea, right? Good idea to write that
Yeah,
down.
I have to. Yeah, I have to write it down.
Okay, and Ugbad, you wanted to talk about mapping, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to go down, I'm going to go back to chapter 3. And I'm going to, well, I'm going to go backwards to here. So mapping is on page 110, right?
Mhm.
And it talks about how to map, and it gives you some directions here on how to map. And mapping is just putting things in another format. Did you do the note-taking voice thread?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so let's check it out. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so here's note-taking. Can you still see this?
No.
No, I'm not sharing my thing. No, I'm not sharing. Okay, that makes it hard to see. Okay, now you can see.
Yes.
So here's mapping. It's a visual representation, right?
Yep. Oh, okay.
And
Yep.
here's the structure. So your main idea is kind of the first thing you do, and major details are hooked onto the main idea, and minor details are hooked onto the major detail. Okay? So then here's our main idea. Remember, this was that one paragraph about anxiety disorders.
Mhm.
There are many anxiety disorders that can lead to depression if they go untreated. And then here were the 4 major details: phobias, panic attacks, generalized anxiety disorder, and obsessive compulsive disorder. And then we hooked on the minor details, explaining what a phobia was, explaining what panic attacks were, explaining what generalized anxiety disorder. So if you follow from minor detail to major detail to main idea, you can see that progression, right? There are anxiety disorders. Well, what are the anxiety disorders? Oh, it's obsessive compulsive disorder. That's an anxiety disorder. And then what does that mean? Oh, it's a having persistent disturbing thoughts and behaviors. So you can see how they're all connected. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions?
I don't think so. We have another question.
How'd you guys do with the shark paragraph? Did you get it outlined? It was easy?
It is difficult to find the photo idea, but like, it's okay.
It's okay?
Yes.
All right. And here's to your health was easy?
Yep.
Okay. If you have no more questions, then I won't waste your time. We still have to talk about Sherman Alexie, the True Diary thing. So if you feel like you're ready for the test and you don't have any more questions about the practice test, because you can see that I'm giving you the answers, right? So if you have more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, then let's talk about the True Diary, shall we? Shoot. So you guys were supposed to read. Let me see. All the way to page 98, I think, right?
Yep.
And how did that go? I had many people who didn't do this assignment today.
Also, I have a question, Miss.
Sure.
How if you do like your assignment, but your groups only do one person and one person, and then when one of them do like at the end of the time is and already is closed, but you cannot reply. What do you do?
Well, here's the thing. You are in charge of doing your own work, right? So it's due at 8 o'clock on Friday mornings.
Yep.
And if you've done your work by 8 o'clock on Friday morning, then you've done your work, right?
Yep.
I would definitely do a little bit of you. I would do it a little. I would give your group a little bit of slack if they don't get it done right on time. I would definitely try and check back on Sunday just to make sure. But you don't have that obligation. If they don't get it done on time, that is on them, and they get the penalties. You do not. You do not get the penalty. So I do write down who posts on time and who posts late. And I do keep track of if you are commenting on everybody in your groups and if you're not. But if somebody hasn't done it by 8 o'clock on Friday morning, then it's not your responsibility because they didn't do their work. So you won't be penalized.
Yes, I get it. Like, say, oh my God, what's going on? You only reply one person, so the other one is too late to do it.
Right. And I was in your group, Ugbad, and what I noticed was it was weird
Yep.
because you posted on time. And
we only three people, like I think we've 5 people. We only are the one we do like I think is 3 people.
right. And you don't have to worry about the other ones that don't do it. That's not your problem. Right? And you replied to Samaya, right?
No, I don't, because my like when I try to reply, it's closed.
Oh, it was closed.
Yes,
Yeah, and
because she sent I think
yeah.
11 something.
Right. Okay. Okay. So that's okay. Then it's not your fault. Then it's not your problem. Okay? Okay.
Okay.
All right. So tell me what happened during this chunk of the book. What were the big things that happened?
We went to the school
Yeah. Junior started going to Reardon.
and then he started new lives.
Yeah. What else happened? What were the big things?
Mm-hmm.
What shocked you? There's a lot of shocking things in this.
For me, I like when his grandma giving the best advice when he get like scared with his schools. No?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She said that Roger respected him, right?
Yes, you know, like when you are scared, it's some like some new things. Also, you have a problem with your parents. It is hard to go somewhere, but if you have advice, you will never give up.
So hard. Yeah. And he was
body was exciting me.
uh-huh.
How the grandma explained him and then showed him to start a life.
Right?
Yep.
And just the fact that he was the only native kid in the school.
Yep.
They were all white. And you know how American society is. Everybody knows how American society is, right? And I'm using real generalizations here because not every single person feels the same way or does the same things, right? But you can see the conflict between the dominant culture, which remember white culture is dominant culture. You can see the conflict between white culture and any minority culture, right? There's a lot of racism in the United States, just a huge amount of racism. And obviously, we are right in the middle of having this nationwide rising up against racism, especially with the Black community right now, which probably is a long time coming, right? 400 years coming. But it's not just the Black community that experiences racism. Any minorities experience racism. And so just knowing that this small town, this white small town, is set right next to an Indian reservation, you can totally see how the racism would be prevalent in that country, in that school, right? So it was
Like when you are new, everything is new for you, and then also the people was new for you. You can meet everything, anything. So racist, even they are not racist, you can meet it the first time. So
right.
yeah.
So what other big things happened?
Also, his sister got married.
Were you surprised when Junior hit Roger?
Yes.
Well, especially because Junior's the one that always got beat up on the reservation, right?
Yep.
He was kind of the victim in the reservation. And here he was standing up for himself against the big guy of the football team.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big deal. And it earned some respect for him. Roger then was like, okay, this kid, you can't push this kid around. Which is so interesting that he was willing to stand up to him, but not willing to stand up for himself at his old school. I wonder why. What else happened? So on page 56, at the very bottom of the page, it says, Reardon was the opposite of the res. It was the opposite of my family. It was the opposite of me. I didn't deserve to be there. I knew it. All those kids knew it. Indians don't deserve shit. So tell me what texts that we've read so far in this class connect text to text to that paragraph. Reardon was the opposite of the res. It was the opposite of my family. It was the opposite of me. I didn't deserve to be there. I knew it. All those kids knew it. Indians don't deserve shit. What article or articles Does that remind you of how can you connect that text to text? Because that is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting text to text connection. So which ones? Think back. What have we read and how does it connect? What other texts have we read? Just name some texts that we've read. What texts have we read? You gotta help me out, you guys. Come on. I can't just talk to myself. Let's see. Do you see some texts that we've read?
Yes.
What ones make sense that relate to that paragraph in this book?
I think it's the one I am always fiction.
I'm always a fiction. And why does that one relate?
Both of them talk about like an idea about like how they ignore someone.
Yeah, I think that I'm reading your mind a little bit, Ugbad. Are you talking about how Junior decides to create his life?
Yep.
Yeah, and so did Christina Rosalie when she wrote about I Am Always a Fiction, right? We're always becoming, and you get to choose how you become. Absolutely, that's a great text-to-text connection. What about another one? He feels like he doesn't belong there, right? So what other texts talk about that? There's I'm Always a Fiction. What about Fear Factor? Do you remember what Fear Factor was about? What was Fear Factor about? What about the wrong choice? What was the wrong choice about? Okay. This is sort of painful. I just feel like I'm talking to myself. So why don't you start talking? What do you want to say about this? I'm going to shut my microphone off, and you guys need to discuss the book. And I will listen, and I will give you credit for talking about the book, because I just can't sit here and listen to silence anymore, because that is not productive for any of us, and it doesn't help anybody understand anything or learn anything. So I'm going to shut my thing off, and I'm going to listen to you, and I expect all of you to talk. Ray, I expect you to talk. Judith, you need to turn your microphone on and talk. Khadija, I know you have things to say. I read your thing. Okay, so I'm stopping.
I think also we have same thing with one choice. Because the wrong choice is talking about like first, do you agree, Nicole? Right. Are you agree?
All right, but thank you. I appreciate you trying. Now you see how I feel, right? It is really hard to have a conversation when nobody talks. And that is my expectation is that you talk. That's why we're here together. So what are you thinking about this text? Okay.
In my opinion, the wrong choice and absolutely David, Ruth David, both of them have
They both feel they don't belong, right? Right. Okay. It seems to me that we're done. Right? I can't take it anymore. So I think that we're done. Next week, so today you're going to be taking your test. There is a worksheet that is linked in the quiz, just like last time, that you will be doing your, you'll be turning in your annotations, and you'll be turning in your outlines in that, because I think that Microsoft Word helps you with your outline better than the text box in the quiz. So you will be putting that into the assignment folder, just like you did last week. And I will look for that tomorrow morning, because again, it is due at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you only, and then the test will close, and you will not have access to it after 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So you have 2 hours to do the homework. So you're gonna have to start the test before 6 a.m. tomorrow. You can do it now, you can do it later on this afternoon if you need to study some more. you have more questions, you can always email me. But I think that you are ready to go. You are not really talking. And so I think that that's kind of a waste of all of our time to sit here in silence together. Okay? I just wanted you to know that I did do word counts for your letters. Last week I talked about how they needed to be at least 300 words. 300 words is the minimum, bare minimum. That's not an excellent job. That is the bare minimum. And I had 2 people that did like just over 300 words. Otherwise, everybody else didn't even break 200. So I'm just telling you right now that I will be grading it based on word count, and I will be grading it based on your thinking. I'm looking for text-to-text connections. I'm looking for text-to-self connections, and I'm looking for some generalizations about society. What does this mean about the world? How is Sherman Alexie depicting how our society works and how the world works? What are your generalizations for that? So make sure that you are doing that, and I will see you guys next week. Okay?
Okay, see you next week.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Ray, did you need something?
Yeah, but I don't really know where I'm gonna start reading the page, so that is my problem. And then when you ask me to talk, and I'm confused when I'm gonna get talking. So yeah.
Okay, so have you read the book?
Yeah, I do read the book. I just read only like a couple page, and then turns out when you gotta read kind of like a 96, 97 something. I'm not read over 96, 97, so yeah, I have a confused about that.
Okay.
And then when I look at in the assessment, because they write it down for me the page number, where the number I have to write.
You don't know where to do your writing?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so let's look. I'm gonna stop the recording. So